Greetings, dears. I will get used to these lights. I will get used to these lights. I will get used to these lights. What are you grateful for? Thank you. And I'm grateful for you. Now, hopefully you're thinking about what you're grateful for. So what are the kinds of things you're coming up with? Be careful. Because the ones that are just holy, I will say thank you, but not get excited about it. Because you're good at holy. What are you grateful for in your day to day? What are you grateful for? Hi.
Quickly, about 6 or 7 or 8 things came to mind, and they were all relationships. They were either my husband or my relationship with Quinn or dear friends or family. They were all had to do with relationships.
That makes sense. That's good. Colleen.
I'm grateful for the people who lovingly, willingly give me a ride when I could not maybe otherwise be here. And those people also are friends, and I cherish them.
I am grateful for those people who give you a ride as well. Hi. Nice.
I'm grateful for the many people that I've met in the medical community in the last 3 months, and their compassion and their love and their ability to step into any situation with grace, and to see that functioning out there that way is just, it's amazing. And I'm also grateful for friends who are able to accept help when it's needed. It's a gift.
It is.
And creativity.
Hi.
I'm grateful for Rose Jewell because no matter how wacky she is, this basic nature that's so loving and sweet and happy finds a way through all of that cloud. And it's just amazing. And she's still a delight to be with.
That's good. It was a rough time for a while there, and she's coming back to her heart. That's good. Stephen and Suzanne and Bobby, and I'll let it go there.
I'm grateful for a childhood emotional wound that I became aware of this weekend. Because I can't heal it if I don't know about it.
Right.
So that's my gratitude.
Hi. That's nice.
I'm grateful for music, I'm grateful for dancing, I'm grateful for a roof over my head, I'm grateful for electricity and natural gas. And my furnace.
And being able to pay those bills for having those things.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Ditto to that, but I also, I'm really thankful to be a teacher and to be teaching. I have so much fun in the classroom. I just love it. Yeah.
It's a gift.
I'm grateful for, and this sounds kind of weird, but realizing that my job and all this time that I've seen as being really stressful, I have recently seen it as being my opportunity to show others that it doesn't have to be the way they're seeing it.
Nice.
And that's how change happens. I was waiting for somebody to say, I am grateful for myself. Thank you, dear. I'm grateful for my body. I'm grateful for my mind, my emotional experiences. I am grateful for the opportunity to be here in this world. Because when you're thinking of gratitudes, that's an easy one to forget. To forget to be grateful for yourself. To be grateful for what works still after all this time. To be grateful for your opportunity every day to live and love and serve and give. Grateful for you. Something that this month brings out has a lot to do with that. And that's where I'm going to go with this first Sunday of December. Now, December has a lot going on. And if you were to ask me what was the most important time, I would tell you that the solstice is, because not only does your physical world make change, but it is an ancient spiritual celebration that's all about light in the world. And of course, it's very, very easy to move that into the spiritual light in the world, as well as the very physical light in the world. But for most people, when they think about December, they think about Christmas, or Santa Claus, or the rush and craziness of having to satisfy so many people with so little to do it with, or fun and parties, or pretty much Christmas related, right? Mm-hmm. So although there are other holidays surrounding that particular time of year, Christmas is what I usually go with, because not only is it a huge part of mass consciousness, but it's a huge part of your consciousness. You celebrate a version of it yourselves. So I've had fun over the years with all kinds of talks about Christmas. What the actual Christmas celebration itself could be about, what the animals see it as, and even the Santa Claus reindeer flying through the sky version that came with some of the most awful singing you've ever heard. I've not forgotten it. I'm going in a slightly different direction this year. And I do not believe I'm going to take very long to talk to you about it. But it's about the forgotten people of Christmas. Now, I'm going to ask you to take a moment and go into Once Upon a Time land, all right? Once upon a time, long, long ago, little more than a couple thousand years ago, give or take 6 months, all right? The Avataric presence of this particular function line was renewed, I said, into the world. Now, the Christmas story tells that as Jesus was born, and as you know, lived a very powerful life and was killed for being a rabble-rouser, and as the Christians would say, was raised up from the dead and now resides in your heart. And that story works. I'm good with it. It works because approximately every 2,500 years, the Avataric function line is renewed. And what that means is 12 individuals are brought to the planet, all capable of being the Avataric function for that age. Those 12 all have the ability to say no. They also have the ability to say yes. They can say yes if the designated Avataric function chooses to say no. "2,500 years ago, give or take 6 months, the one that you called Jesus, which is not at all like what the name sounded like, was born and did say yes. And the whole story around that was a whole lot like the story that had been going on for 2,500 years before that. Every Avataric function line has the story of being born of a virgin. And there's a reason for that. Of being killed and coming back from the dead, and there is a reason for that as well. And then 2,500 years before that, and before that, and Earth's before that. 12 come, one says yes. When that one says yes, the purpose is to change the light function of that particular age. To change the light function of that particular age. Right now in your world, that light function is being changed again. Since 2012, and until the end, the solstice of 17, you have been experiencing waves of change, and those change have all been about moving to another frequency of light, another form of light in this world. This is a very important time. It's the first time that there have been more than 12 avatars coming to the planet. In fact, there have been a multitude. And as your fragmented soul self renews, you come to a place where you recognize the opportunity to say yes or say no, to being that avataric change within this age. Because you see, my loves, you and those who have come here to work as guardians of the light, as light workers, as those who work toward the completion of the plan, you are Avataric force. And as you are mastering in this world and renewing, regenerating, no, regenerating is not the word I want, but healing that fragmented self, every piece of yourself that you bring healing and wholeness to connects you into a different aspect of that avataric frequency, allowing you to heighten your frequency, brighten your own light. I always tell you at the Festival of Light that you are the light being celebrated. But more than ever, that is very, very true now. But the thing is, behind every bright light, there is somebody working the on-off mechanism, isn't there? Just like my sitting here, there are those back there handling the sound and keeping the camera and the stream going behind the scenes. Up until this age, the Avataric force always worked forward. But that was at a time in which your world was so much smaller. Not your globe, not your planet, but your world. Now you have access so close to immediate you would not notice the difference between the other side of the planet and yourself right away. You can find out the news of some tiny town in China. That would be village, wouldn't it? With just a few clicks of your fingers, your world has become quite accessible. Avataric force is spread across your world, but it's concentrated in your country for probably pretty obvious reasons. That concentration means that ideally, this country would host the Great Awakening. But that has not exactly been the case. So what I want to do is remind you of how it all works together. Once upon a time, long, long ago, in a land that was much simpler than this one is now, there was a woman who was betrothed to a man. One night while she was sleeping, she had a dream that a great being of light came to her and said, "Hey girl, you're pregnant." To which, of course, she replied, "Ha! Not going to happen. Bad timing. You're wrong. Or anything else that she could come up with that expressed this is impossible. No way, Jose. Well, realizing that maybe it wasn't so outrageous, and recognizing human nature for what it was and needing a good reason for everything, she went to her betrothed and said, this time, Jose, I'm pregnant. And he went against his tribe, and he went against his family, and he married this beloved one. And a little later, they had a baby. Now, that birth is a big production. That birth is, they had to gather a tax count, and so Joseph had to take his newly wedded wife and very pregnant woman on a little donkey to go to Bethlehem. It's not exactly where they were going, but makes for a better story, I guess. And they could not get into a good hotel, and they ended up in the outbuilding of a hotel and had their baby along with the creatures that were in that outbuilding at the hotel. Now, quick reminder, it's only been a very few hundred years in your society, and in some in this world right now, people still live with their animals. This was not a terrible hardship. Don't get all weepy here, because this isn't the weepy part. The cow watched, the donkey was interested. They lived with them. That's how it worked. However, other people were getting notified about this great event as well. Apparently, the skies lit up with great light beings singing praises. The Son has been born, the Son of the Son. The Son has been born. And a shepherd looked up from his flocks and said, "Oh, I'm going to check that out." And farther to the east, wise ones said, "I've been watching this star, and you know, my horoscope says it would be a good time to go check this out." So forward they went, and you get 3 kings, and you get a couple of shepherds, and nobody mentions, but probably the hotel owner came and checked once or twice. What's happening here? Did you get that cleaned up yet? Kind of goes with it. And eventually they left town, and Jesus grew up and was just a real wild card in the game at that time. Threw the Romans for a loop. Such is the basics of the story. But what you don't think about when you hear that story is the people within, going back to the beginning of it, the people within the tribe that Mary and Joseph were a part of, who had to accept and allow and support them, because that was what the tribe did. You did not think about that one shepherd who took off, who was going to watch the flocks when that one disappeared. Somebody had to step up and take care of those sheep. You don't think about the multitude of people who those 3 chieftains, kings, wise men, whatever. You don't think about all of the people they passed and their long journey and the lives they may have touched. And how stories changed. Outside of those 3, you don't think about the support system that makes that story work. A support system that has lasted 2,500 years, more or less, and kept it alive and going. It is rarely the people out front who change this world. It's all of the people in the background making things happen. It's not the one who is willing to stand forth and say, I have a new world here for you. They catch the attention. They make people think, and that's vital. But the real force behind the Great One are those who are willing to step out of the limelight and support the one who is in it. Guardians support the plan, each other. They support the organization. Guardians make it work. When somebody gets it into their head that they must cross the desert on a camel and see the new baby. They're the ones who make sure the wolves don't come in and steal the sheep. When the shepherd disappears to go see the new baby. They are the ones who make the meals and create the meetings. They are the ones who keep it working when everyone else has run off to see the new baby. Your holiday should be a celebration of the quiet ones. The ones who don't need the big title, who don't need the acclaim, who don't seek attention for themselves, but instead the quiet ones support, keep it going. Keep the wolves at bay. Working behind the scenes is not glamorous. But it is more important than anything else. The one who stands forth for this age stands forth for a few hours, not a lifetime. Because Avataric force is spread about in this age. And what that means is you have your moments of pure Avataric force flowing through you, and you recognize it when you send forth healing that works. When you feel the right words at the right time. When your heart is open and your compassion is full. You recognize your avataric moments that over a lifetime become those avataric hours in which you indeed made such a difference in a life that they saw you as the one out front, the one with the message that was going to change the world. But most of the time, you lift up, keep up, hold back, for that next person in line to shine. And I celebrate you because of that. There is no Christmas story without the many, many who allowed those main characters to do what they needed to do. There is no change in this world without you not having to be front and center. Just give in your best. Keeping your heart open. Keeping your time available to help when that moment shows up. It's the ones you don't see who do so much. And I encourage you this holiday season to pay attention to all of those who support your life. They support your life by stocking your grocery shelves, by waiting on you at a restaurant, making the clothes you have on, unless you made them, of course. By quietly doing what they needed to do, even when they knew it meant they would not shine. This holiday season, think about those people who are willing to dim their light so you might shine more brightly, and whose bright light on their own is rarely noticed. I am grateful for those who painted the scenery and directed the play that you call life. Those who are running the lights and the sound and making it pretty for you to live. And this holiday season, think not so much about how brightly you shine, but more about all of the light around you that is too often forgotten. Some Christmas story, huh? Loch an Umara.